The prototype of the abomination of desolation occurred when the ancient king Antiochus Epiphanes conquered Jerusalem. This king went to the holy place and entered the temple and ransacked it. He set up an idol to Zeus. Then he sacrificed the blood of the biggest, fattest pig he could find. Now the pig, by the law of God, was an unclean animal, totally unacceptable as blood sacrifice. This was an open, blasphemous affront to the proper sacrifice God had ordained for the Jews, for the cleansing of their sins, who were to offer acceptable blood sacrifices according to the law of God for the cleansing of sin. These events, the idolatry and the blasphemous blood sacrifice, were the occasion of the abomination of desolation and were the fulfillment of the abomination of desolation that Daniel prophesied in Daniel chapter 11. What will be the abomination of desolation? First, we must look for the clue in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews 10:4. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats should take away sins. Above, when he said, sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offering for sin, thou wouldest not, neither had pleasure therein which are offered by the law. Then said he, Lo, I come to do thy will, O God. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second, by the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ, once for all. But Holmes, how could this abomination of desolation occur now that the sacrifice of animals according to the law for the forgiveness of sin has been done away with by Jesus at the cross? What would constitute idolatry and a blasphemous blood sacrifice at the site of the holy place? Elementary, Watson. Idolatry will be the setting up of an altar at the site of the holy place to sacrifice the now unacceptable blood of an animal according to the law of Moses. The answer is in the mystery of the red heifer. Here we are on the slide of the mystery of the red heifer. The mystery of the red heifer, divine promise of purity. This is the cover of the book, Mystery of the Red Heifer, Divine Promise of Purity by Rabbi Richmond. Now I want to ask you, how many in here know Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I want to ask you the question, is the red heifer your divine promise of purity? No. But there is a red heifer that people will be trusting on for their purity. Here's its picture. Newsflash, red heifer born in Israel. In these days of difficulty for the land of Israel, there's encouraging news as well. It can now be revealed that less than a month ago, a red heifer was born in Israel. After the heifer's owner contacted the Temple Institute on Friday, April the 5th, 2002, Rabbi Makeover and Rabbi Richmond traveled to the farm where the heifer is located to inspect and validate her status. The rabbis found her to be kosher and satisfied the heifer could indeed be a candidate to be used in the process of purification according to the book of Numbers 19. This is a prerequisite for the building of the Holy Temple, they said. Tradition records that a red heifer of our generation is a herald of the Messianic era. It is certainly an important development towards the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. Our sages taught that Israel's redemption can be compared to the dawn. In the beginning it progresses very slowly, but it continues to grow brighter and brighter. And the website is noted on the slide. Here's a photograph of the red heifer. This is a news story from April 11th, 2002 by Rod Dreyer in the National Review. And we'll spend a little time on it because it's very interesting. Religion takes the lead. Could this little calf born last month in Israel bring about Armageddon? The concept would have struck many people as absurd the last time such a calf was born in 1997 and probably makes most readers laugh today, but big mistake. Never underestimate the power of religious faith to shape events, especially in the Holy Lands and especially right now, writes Dreyer. Our eschatological heifer story begins on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where tens of millions of Jews, Muslims, and Christians believe the central events of each tradition's last days will play out. The site, the biblical Mount Moriah, was the site near the Hebrews' first temple, destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar in 586 BC, and the second temple, which the Romans leveled in 70 AD. So how does the calf recently born in Israel figure into things? As Gornberg explains, the ashes of a flawless red heifer, an extremely rare creature, were required by the ancient Hebrews to purify worshippers who went into the temple to pray. In modern times, rabbinical law forbids Jews from setting foot on the Temple Mount, thus violating the site where the Holy of Holies dwelled, until and unless they are ritually purified. Without a perfect red heifer to sacrifice, the third temple cannot be built and their Messiah will not come. Writes Gornberg, government officials and military leaders can only regard this requirement for the missing red heifer as a stroke of sheer good fortune, preventing conflict over the mount. In 1996, thanks in part to a cattle breeding program set up in Israel, with the help of Texas ranchers who were fundamentalist Christians, a red heifer was born. There was immense excitement amongst the Messianists of Israel and the American Christian counterparts. The world media covered it as a joke, but it wasn't funny. From the Israeli Daily Haaretz, it was written that the red heifer is a four-legged bomb that could set the entire region on fire. Muslim leaders worried about the red heifer too, as they would see an attempt by the Jews to take over the Temple Mount as a sign of the Islamic apocalypse. Very interesting, huh? As it turned out, during the 3 years of waiting for the heifer to reach the rigidly mandated age of sacrifice, white hairs popped out on the tip of her tail. This bovine was, alas, not divine. But now there's a successor, and rabbis have examined her and declared her ritually acceptable, though she will not be ready for sacrifice for 3 years, according to this story, which was written in 2002. The red heifer in the story reached the age of sacrifice of 3 years in March of 2005. According to an unconfirmed source at the Temple Institute, there are a number of candidates for the red heifer, but they stated that they could give no further information regarding the red heifer. The red heifer must be sacrificed outside the camp and the ashes taken to the holy place for purification of sins in order for the priest to set up the altar for animal sacrifice at the side of the holy place. The temple does not have to be rebuilt, merely the cornerstone laid and the altar set up at the holy place for animal sacrifice to begin at the holy place. With the help of the Israeli military, these events could suddenly all transpire within hours on the Temple Mount. The setting up of an altar at the holy place for animal sacrifice will constitute idolatry, and the blasphemous shedding of the blood of an animal for the forgiveness of sins are the events that will be seen on the Temple Mount, constituting the abomination of desolation.